So I went to El Salvador and we did our baby moon there. So my husband and I, we went there for a week. It was amazing, 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 amazing. It was like 90 degrees, and then we came back. I think we came back and it was like 19 degrees in Utah, and there was snow on the ground. And I was like, oh no. The more time that people spend on your content, the higher that piece of content is going to rank. And why is that? It's because it signals to the algorithm that people really like that piece of content because they're spending more time on it than the average piece of content or other pieces of content that are out there in like the Instagram space at that time. For Reels, this looks like having a really high watch time, but not just having a high watch time, but also having a high completion rate, meaning that people are not just watching those first 1, 2, 3 seconds, but the entire reel from start to finish. If people are willing to watch that multiple times, it's a really great piece of content. Let's talk about the very first one here. You're going to create an open loop so that people want to stick around for the resolution. But to take this one step further, though, what I see a lot of times is people will just drag it out. They're just like going on and on and on and on. And then, their post is actually just like this muddled mess of muddiness because they're like, oh, well, I need to just drag this on instead of just getting to the point. You need to make it engaging between the hook and then giving them whatever the answer is, right? Because when you say, hey, this is why I'm talking about this. This is why it's important to you. This is why this solution is better than other alternative solutions on the market. When you present that solution now, they're like, oh, it means so much more. It's sneaky because you are going to be boosting your posts standing in the algorithm, right? Which means more reach, which means more impact, which means more followers. Thinking about clips that are 5 to 15 seconds, and don't do longer than 5 to 15 seconds because then it's too long, right? When you look at a post and everything is the same exact font size and there's a bunch of text there and nothing really stands out, it's hard for people to skim. And so it's going to make it way more visually appealing and easier for people to consume, especially those skimmers, which I would say majority of us are, unless it's like a really, really, really engaging post. Number 3 is pattern interruption throughout the post. This can look like using visuals that pop up. You see this oftentimes. I'll do this in my reels, especially my talking reels, but you might have a client that, dropped 20 pounds. Well, maybe you have a visual of their chart. Maybe you're charting their weight or something, and they could see how your audience can see how over time they dropped weight. That's going to help, again, interrupt the pattern throughout the reel. Now, we're not talking about those first few seconds. We're talking about throughout the reel, throughout the carousel post, having these things pop up. You can't just have these strategies of holding attention and not implement the strategies of capturing attention, because you have to capture attention before you can hold it. It doesn't matter how great your caption is, how long your caption is, how short your caption is. It doesn't matter how many great call to action statements you have in your caption. They are not reading your caption. I can't tell you how many pieces of content I look at, whether that's a carousel or a reel, where I'm like, wow, that could have been said in half the amount of time, or half the amount of words, or half the amount of slides. My challenge for you is, when you go to write a carousel or a reel script, or even just the text that you're putting on a B-roll, asking yourself, can I write this in half the amount of characters? I was like, am I getting to the point quickly enough? And I was watching through and I was like, wow, that took me like 40 seconds to get to the point when I only needed 20 seconds to get to the point. And so that was a really powerful thing, and shortening it down and cutting out that fluff and keeping it more concise is going to keep that piece of content more fast paced, which is going to hold attention.